Chapter 18. Hunter glanced at her with a raised eyebrow and smiled. He glanced at the concoction in a shot glass and thought that he could do this, even though he had never had a serious drink, not hard liquor, anyway. Devon was the expert in that category. Hunter put the glass to his mouth. What's in it? Jack Daniels and Bacardi rum. He threw it down, then his head started to swirl, and his stomach received a signal too late to warn him. When he didn't pass out, the music started playing, and everyone in the place, which was full, went back to doing what they had been doing. A pretty young woman, who looked like she belonged in a fashion magazine, came up to him. His eyes washed over her, and he saw all that he needed. Her speech was polished, her face round, her eyes large and blue, and she had soft lips, the kind a man or werewolf would want to wake up to each morning. You shouldn't be in here. You don't belong, she said, but he wanted to tell her that he belonged in a cave, and this bar was nothing compared to what he had been through, and who he had become. If she knew, she wouldn't have said that to him. He wasn't what he appeared to be. These were the words of a panther shifter, who had seen the worst in humanity, animal or human, and who better than her could see through him. And where do you belong, miss? He asked, flashing a wicked, dangerous smile. It was a good thing for her that it wasn't a full moon, or he would have her bent over on all fours and would be showing her where she belonged. Not here. I just happened to fall in love with one of these bikers, and I've been stuck with him and his friends ever since. They aren't your kind. You need to get out of here before you get hurt. That was a joke. Hunter looked around, and no one in the bar could match him on fierceness or savagery. You don't know me, miss. I'm not what I seem. And they aren't what they appear to be either. He took a second look around the dim-lit bar, and raised his hand to order another drink. Miss America, with the bleached blonde hair and leather pants 2 sizes too small, sauntered over with the same drink that would have sent a man to an early grave, or at least to the hospital. This time he observed the patrons at the bar more closely. The behaviors were not those of humans but shifters. This bar is full of shifters hiding out, he thought. Not even he had seen so many of them in one place. There were panthers and cats of all kind, bears and foxes, so this was his world, and he was king in his world. There were no shifters as ferocious as a wolf. With the exception of maybe the lion, but he was in the cat family, and everyone knew who ruled cats. At least, that was what Hunter thought. He was yet to discover that might not have been the rule. The young woman put her hand on his arm. You need to leave now. You're a stranger in here. These shifters have a bond with each other, and they are protective of my shifter. When the girl looked up and Hunter followed her gaze, she saw the image of a large man ambling from the corner where a sign read, restroom. That restroom had a picture of a bear. The bear shifter stood over Hunter, who looked up not surprised. Why are you talking to him? She shivered next to Hunter, and he could smell the fear coming from her. I was just ordering a beer. You don't drink beer. Try another. And the bear snatched her by the arm, and she fell across the room. Why don't you try that with me? Hunter said, looking up at the large muscular man who had muscles in his face and neck. He wore a t-shirt and a bandana on his head, looking like a young Hulk Hogan. I'm new in town and I just stopped by to get a drink. This is not the place to stop. Just keep moving, or I will. You will do what? Hunter jumped to his feet, shifting into a large white wolf, and before the bear shifter could react, his quick paws tore across the slow, cumbersome bear's shoulders, injuring both arms and tearing his tendons in his arms. The bear's arms went limp, and when he raised his large tree-trunk legs, Hunter made another swipe at them, and he went down on his back with a bang. The other shifters, on seeing their leader being decimated by the werewolf, hid under the tables, or rushed for the doors. Hunter shifted back, asked the panther for his pants, which he gladly took off, and threw in Hunter's direction. Hunter threw $1,000 on the bar. What's that for? The barmaid questioned. For any damages, and for you to buy some clothes that fit. He shot her a warm smile, checked on the girl sitting in the corner, and when he saw that she was okay, he whispered, "If you need a place to go to when you can't stand him anymore, my name is Hunter Samsa. I'm staying at the Millennium Hotel in San Francisco." And he left the bar, climbed on his motorcycle, and headed back to San Francisco. On his ride back to the hotel, he stopped at a gas station. A car with 4 young women pulled their car next to his motorcycle. "Hey, aren't you cold?" the one in the passenger seat said as she exited the car. She had been designated to pump the gas. Hunter didn't realize he only had on pants and no shirt. He looked down and smiled. "I like a man that rides a motorcycle," one woman said, after lowering her window. "I like a man that's dangerous," the other woman said. "You don't know how dangerous I am." He looked at her and stared with his deep blue eyes that deepened as he glared at her. She sat back and turned to her companions. "He really is dangerous." The driver in the car said, "I don't give a fuck how dangerous he is. He's gorgeous. Did you see that body? I would let him fall on me and in me in a quick second." Hunter heard all of that and shook his head. He strode inside to pay, because he didn't have any credit cards, only cash, and when he walked outside, the women were driving off and throwing kisses at him. He'd had enough excitement for one night. He had to get up early and see about getting a place to live, because he couldn't, and didn't want to stay indefinitely in a hotel, no matter how convenient it was. He had grown up on a ranch with grass, and he needed that to be who he was. Yet he was trying his best to be something he wasn't. Reaching the hotel, the attendant taking his motorcycle said, "You can't go in there dressed like that. You need a shirt, sir." "I'll give you $100 for your shirt." "You don't have to give me anything. I have one in my bag." He walked to the office and came out immediately and handed him a shirt. Hunter put it on. "I need someone to show me around San Francisco." The attendant interrupted him. "I have a job. On your off days, and I'll make it worth your while. My name is Hunter Samsa. Call me tomorrow, and I'll have a job for you if you want one. It will be one with better hours and pay." Hunter strode into the lobby. A middle-aged man came from the lounge to the right of him, with a pretty woman in her 20s on his arm. She shot a closed smile at Hunter. He nodded at Hunter, walked out of the hotel, and stepped into his limo, and the driver closed the door. Learning as he went, Hunter thought, "That's what I need, a limo and a driver to take me around town and wait for me while I look for a home and a place to run a business." Stepping into the elevator, Hunter hit the button. The elevator stopped on the 37th floor. Hunter's eyes were lowered looking at the buttons when the elevator opened, and in stepped the rude human that he had bumped into earlier. "I thought the elevator was going down," the man said in a voice gruff. They stood peering at each other, and then it dawned on Hunter what was standing before him, another shifter. You can't throw a ball without hitting a shifter in San Francisco, he thought, but the shifter recognized him as a werewolf, and he wasn't afraid. This shifter had hidden his scent well, because Hunter didn't know what kind he was. Chapter 19. Normally, when confronted with a werewolf's scent, most shifters would be uneasy. They gave off an odor, and Hunter would know exactly what they were and whether they were harmless. This shifter appeared overconfident, aware of his surroundings, and comfortable in his human form. He raised a thick eyebrow. He passed his hand over his short manicured beard. He was striking for a man in his late 20s or 30s, with a hint of gray hairs mixed in with a thick head of dark hair. His sideburns met the side of his beard as it framed his hard chiseled face. Hunter caught a glimpse of him watching him with large menacing amber eyes, and he remembered his father's teachings when he would accompany him to the cave. As Hunter watched in silence, in close quarters, his eyes watching the shifter's large hands, Wilder's words rang in his ears. There aren't but a few lion shifters. Be on your guard, because they are dangerous to werewolves. They are strong, quick, and smart. Hunter had never seen one in shifter form, but the lion shifter knew that he was a werewolf, and he wasn't intimidated. The lion shifter stood, head erect, self-assured, and never taking his eyes off of Hunter as if he was stalking him. Hunter watched at him with the patience of a wolf. When the elevator stopped at his floor, Hunter breathed a sigh of relief when he stepped into the hallway of the 38th floor lobby. He didn't want to meet the shifter again. There was something about him that made Hunter uneasy, and that hadn't occurred lately. Lately, Hunter had been fearless, but this was the lion shifter's jungle, the city. Traveling as a man and navigating city life was something new to Hunter. It would take time for him to become part of this jungle. For now, the lion shifter was the king, and he knew it. The concierge greeted him and asked, "Do you need anything, Mr. Samsa?" Hunter answered with a shake of his head. He must have seen the stress on Hunter's face. Opening the door to the suite and reaching for the phone, Hunter called to rent a limo. They asked if he needed a driver, and he said he had one. The person on the other end said that the limo would be waiting in the morning, at 7. Hunter woke on Sunday morning. He woke lying on the floor. Again, he hadn't made it to the bed, but this time he had an excuse. That drink the barmaid had given him at the shifter bar had knocked him out, and his memory was distorted for a few minutes. He couldn't remember how he had gotten into his room, but then he remembered the menacing amber eyes of a lion shifter. Trying to stand, he reached for the bed and caught sight of the clock. Shit. It's noon. Then he recalled the limo on call. It was late now. He walked into the shower, and he remembered that he didn't have any clothes. Making the shower short, he reached for a robe and strolled into the living room. He hit a switch and the curtains opened, and the lights came on, and that was when he saw steel racks in the living room, where rows and rows of suits and accessories hung. Wondering how they got his shoe size, he thought about how professional the old man was, unlike his young assistant, who had made Hunter nervous. It took a lot to make Hunter nervous because he had never had a man or male werewolf look at him in a sexual way before. He had a lot to learn about the city. Life was simple in Insatiable, and living among werewolves and shifters in the wild, he knew what to expect, but city life presented a whole new set of rules and problems which he had to learn to navigate and learn who to avoid. He knew instinctively to avoid the lion shifter. Today, he would look for a place to live and get out of the hotel, and out of the way of that shifter, he thought. After dressing, he sat looking at his phone. He thought it best to call home and let someone know that he had made it to San Francisco. Hunter picked up his phone and hit dial. He thought about texting, but he hadn't said goodbye to his mother, or anyone but Christine. The phone rang, but no one answered. He rang again, then someone with a small voice answered, "Hello." It was a young woman who had answered, though Hunter didn't recognize the voice. "Let me speak to Wilder or Adrian." "They're not here. They have gone into town." "Is anyone there in the family?" "Hunter, is that you?" "Who is this?" "Haley. Don't you recognize my voice?" "Well, I guess not, because you've never heard it over the phone, but I would recognize your voice. I live to hear you tell me you love me one day." "Don't start that now, Haley. Tell my father and mother that I made it to San Francisco okay." "So that's where you are. You left me with strangers and went off without me. My father asked you to take care of me, and you promised him, and this is what you do. You are a man without honor." "I'm not a man, and I do have honor. I just can't take care of a little girl." "How many times do I have to tell you that I'm not a little girl, and I can take care of myself?" "You would have to prove that to me. I have to go, Haley." "When will I see you again?" "I don't know. I have to go." Hunter wished he hadn't called. Haley made him feel terrible. Very few humans could do that to him, and she was one. He had to make calls before he left the suite. One was to the concierge, to make arrangements for him to meet a broker who could show him properties. When that was done, he got on the elevator, and was relieved not to see the shifter again. His limo was parked in front of the hotel door, but he didn't know it was his, until he saw the young man who had given him a shirt standing outside. "Good afternoon, Mr. Samsa. My name is Brandon." He opened the rear door to the limo, and Hunter stepped inside. "I need to go to this address." Hunter handed the young man a piece of paper he had scribbled several addresses on. "A realtor will meet me at the property." Brandon, a young man in his 20s with obvious good looks, tall and equally as handsome as Hunter, stepped inside the limo and drove off. "We should take about a half an hour with the traffic." "Good. I have to make a call." Hunter pulled his smartphone out of his pocket and hit the call button. "Father." "Yes, Hunter. I'm happy you called." Wilder's voice sounded as if his mind was far away. "Is anything wrong?" There was a pause. "I guess there is no use in hiding this from you. I thought I could find her before I heard from you," Wilder said. "Find who? Is something wrong with Katie?" "No. Katie and Devin are doing great." As much as he didn't want to hear about how great Devin and Katie were doing, Hunter felt a sense of relief. If it wasn't Katie, then what, he wondered. "Haley is gone. I've called out the local police, and they can't find her. Drayton and I took your mother into town. She's redecorating the house." Wilder's voice sounded light at that point. "Father, tell me what happened to Haley." Wilder knew Haley was a nuisance, and she had confirmed it with her disappearance. "I shouldn't have told her that I was preparing to send her to a school in Switzerland. She cried because she was upset. She left a note, and we found it when we came back. On the note she said that she was going to San Francisco to find you." "Did she take anything with her?" "She was wearing a pair of jeans and a leather jacket Katie gave her when she and Devin announced to us over dinner that they were pregnant with pups and were getting married. Oh, I forgot, your mother's new Jeep." Wilder paused and then said, "Will you come home for the wedding?" I don't know." Hunter knew a wedding would be next, but he didn't want to face it. "I have to find Haley first." "Did she have any money?" "I gave her access to some of her funds her father left her." "I said when she turns 18, Hunter said, annoyed. "From research, and Robert helping me locate her records and birth parents, she is 19. I didn't tell her who her birth parents are. I was going to wait until she turned 21, and I would leave it up to her if she wanted to see them," Wilder said. "Have you reported her disappearance to the FBI?" "I can't. She's an adult, and you know very well we don't involve the FBI in our matters. It will bring scrutiny on us. We try to keep under the radar, but with the killings of those women, we might not be able to keep that a secret for long." Hunter knew he had to do something, but what? He didn't know how she was traveling. "Monitor her bank account, and let me know if she spends her money. Tell Mother I miss her and love her, and I'll get her car back to her." "She's not worried about the car, it's you, Hunter. You need to talk to her. You belong with your family. When are you coming back? I know why you left, but you will forget Katie in time." "There isn't enough time in the world to make me forget my first love," he thought. "You will meet someone and then Katie will be a fond memory," Wilder tried to assure Hunter. "Could you ever forget Mother if she left with any one of your brothers?" Wilder didn't have an answer, at least none he wanted to express out loud. "I'm buying a home this week. I can't live in a hotel." "That sounds permanent. I thought you would come home one day." "Maybe someday. Hunter left it at that and hung up with his father. Now he had to worry about Haley. That was an inconvenience he didn't want to have to think about and deal with, but then when had Haley been anything to him but troublesome and a pain in his ass?